A thin mist hovered over the early morning streets as Malik pedaled toward City Hall, the cool air brushing against his cheeks. He kept his breathing steady, counting each turn of the wheel. The bicycle lane was narrow, uneven, but familiar. His daily ritual before stepping into a day filled with policy briefings, emission reports, and meetings that shaped an entire city's environmental future. He didn't hear the patrol car at first. Just the sudden burst of laughter. "Look at that," Officer Grayson drawled, rolling down his window. "Didn't know the city was hiring couriers from wherever." Malik stiffened. His foot paused on the pedal. The officer's voice carried the weight of someone who'd never been challenged, someone who assumed authority meant correctness. "I'm just heading to work," Malik said quietly. Grayson smirked. "Sure you are. On that thing." A few pedestrians slowed. Someone pulled out a phone. Malik felt heat rise in his chest. Anger, humiliation, calculation. He had minutes before his confidential briefing with the mayor. Minutes before he needed to present the updated climate resilience model. He inhaled slowly. "Is there a reason you stopped me?" "Reason?" Grayson leaned out further, laughter turning sharp. "Yeah. People should know their place." The streetlights blinked from yellow to white. Malik's grip tightened on the handlebars. Then Grayson's radio crackled. An urgent call requesting him to City Hall. And Malik watched his expression shift into confusion, because that was exactly where Malik was going. The morning haze lingered as Malik steadied his bicycle at the edge of the lane, adjusting the strap of his messenger bag. He kept his breathing even, 6 seconds in, 4 out. It was a grounding technique he relied on during high-pressure days. Today was one of them. His presentation to the mayor's cabinet would decide the allocation of millions toward the new climate resilience plan. He shifted his weight, ready to accelerate. Patrol car swung into the lane and cut him off. "Hey!" Officer Grayson called out, leaning out his window with an easy, mocking grin. Didn't expect traffic to include delivery cyclists this early. Malik's jaw tightened. "I'm on my way to work, sir." Grayson chuckled. "Work? On that bike?" Pedestrians slowed along the sidewalk. A couple exchanged awkward glances. Malik felt their hesitation, curiosity mixed with discomfort. No one stepped forward. He swallowed the rising heat in his chest. "Is there an actual issue, officer?" Grayson stepped out, boots heavy against asphalt. "Let's find out." "ID." Malik hesitated. "I'm within the lane, abiding by." "ID," Grayson repeated, sharper now. "Unless that's a problem." Malik reached slowly for his wallet, conscious of each movement. "No problem." Grayson flipped through the ID without looking closely. "Malik Okoro. Never heard of you." He handed it back carelessly. "So where exactly are you headed, Malik?" "To a meeting." "Fancy." Grayson smirked. "A meeting for what?" "Delivering lattes. Dropping off whatever packages you people carry around." The phrase hit Malik like a cold slap. "I'm heading to City Hall." "Oh," Grayson laughed. "Big day for the bicycle courier then?" Malik exhaled through his nose. "I'm going to be late." "Late?" Grayson stepped closer, voice dripping condescension. "Then maybe you shouldn't be riding toys on main roads." Bystanders stood still. One person lifted a phone. Grayson noticed. "Oh, don't worry," he said loudly. "Just conducting a routine safety stop. Making sure the cyclist knows where he belongs." Malik's fingers curled around the handlebars. "Officer, I'm trying to get to an important briefing. If I'm permitted to leave." "Permitted?" Grayson echoed with exaggerated surprise. "You think you decide when this ends?" A long, heavy silence stretched. Cars passed in the adjacent lane, the hum of engines underscoring the tension. Then Grayson's radio burst alive. "Unit 4A, report to City Hall immediately. High-priority coordination request." City Hall. The same building Malik was cycling to. The timing couldn't have been more precise, or more ironic. Grayson looked annoyed. What do they want now? Probably some nonsense. Malik slipped one foot onto the pedal. May I go? Grayson waved him off impatiently. Yeah, go, just stay out of real traffic. Malik pushed forward, heart pounding, the humiliation clinging to him like fog. Every turn of the wheel felt heavier. He replayed the officer's voice again and again, the phrase, "You people," echoing deeper than the rest. By the time he reached City Hall, he was 11 minutes late. Security nodded him through quickly. Everyone here knew him. Staff whispered updates as he rushed up the steps to the third-floor conference room. Inside, the meeting had already begun. The mayor looked up. Malik, we were waiting on you. Everything all right? He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Yes, just a delay in transit. His assistant Lena studied him closely. You look shaken. Did something happen on the way here? Malik paused. His mind replayed the officer's smirk, the laughter, the crowd's silence. His throat tightened, but he said only, "Let's proceed. We have a lot to cover." Then Lena handed him a printed note, urgent. Report received. Police officer spotted confronting an unidentified cyclist outside the South District. Requesting internal review for potential misconduct. Malik stared at the words. He was the unidentified cyclist. He folded the paper, slid it quietly beneath his folder, and took his seat at the table, choosing, for now, silence over revelation. Malik steadied his breath as the conference room door clicked shut behind him. The long glass table reflected the early light streaming through tall windows, casting fractured shapes across the climate maps he'd printed the night before. He placed his laptop down quietly, trying not to draw attention, though he sensed eyes on him anyway. All right, the mayor said, clearing his throat. Let's begin. Malik, you're presenting the latest resilience model update. Yes, Malik replied, voice even. Let me pull up the projections. Lena leaned close, whispering, whatever happened out there, talk to me later. You look like you biked through a storm. He forced a small smile. Just a rough morning. Rough wasn't the right word, but saying more would fracture the composure he needed to maintain. He connected the projector, and a digital rendering of the city lit up the room. Flood zones, heat maps, infrastructure risks. Usually the work grounded him. Today it felt distant, blurred by the memory replaying on loop. Didn't expect traffic to include delivery cyclists this early. He swallowed hard. Based on the updated data, Malik began, we're facing a 30% increase in heat-related emergencies over the next decade unless major interventions begin now. One of the senior advisors nodded. And your cycling infrastructure proposal is still aligned with budget expectations. Yes, Malik replied. In fact, expanding protected lanes reduces emergency response strain long-term. The irony didn't escape him. Cycling lanes, safety, public trust, everything connected, yet utterly disconnected from the morning's humiliation. Another advisor tapped her pen. Malik, you seem distracted. Is everything all right? I'm fine, he said quickly. Just keeping track of time. I have a follow-up briefing with Dr. Schuler. The mayor leaned back. We'll get you out of here on schedule. But before we finish, there's something else. Malik's chest tightened. The mayor exchanged glances with two aides. There's been an incident involving an officer and a cyclist outside the South District. A citizen recorded it. We haven't verified identities, but the behavior looked questionable. We plan to request a preliminary report from the police commissioner. Lena's eyes snapped to Malik. Is that why you were late? He inhaled, slow, measured. I'd prefer to focus on the meeting. But Malik. Lena, he said softly, please. The mayor cleared his throat again. We're not here to pressure anyone. We just want to ensure no staff member was affected. Malik felt heat rise in his face. Not anger this time, but conflict. Telling the truth now would turn the morning's humiliation into the center of the room. His climate presentation, the multi-million-dollar proposal, the months of data modeling, everything would be overshadowed. He shook his head. Let's continue with the agenda. A quiet, collective breath filled the room. Not agreement, hesitation. Still they moved on. For the next half hour, Malik spoke steadily, answering questions, pointing to projections, walking through infrastructure adaptation plans. His words flowed with practiced precision, but inside he was unraveling. Every time someone mentioned the South District or safety protocols or emergency access routes, a flash of Grayson's smirk flickered in his mind. When the meeting adjourned, the mayor lingered behind. Malik, a word. He stiffened. Of course. They stepped aside near the window. The city stretched beneath them. Gritty, alive, bright under the morning sun. You're one of the most composed people I know, the mayor said quietly. But today you're not yourself. If something happened, I need you to tell me. Malik forced himself to meet his eyes. I appreciate your concern. Truly. But I'm handling it. Handling what? He hesitated, only a second but long enough. Malik. It was me, he finally whispered. The cyclist. The mayor's expression hardened, not at Malik but at the implication. Did the officer threaten you? He belittled me, blocked the lane, laughed at me, treated me like. Malik's voice cracked, but only barely. Like I didn't belong on my own street. The mayor exhaled slowly. I'm sorry. And I'm angry. We'll bring this up with the commissioner immediately. No, Malik said quickly. Not yet. Why not? Because the moment my name becomes part of the narrative, it stops being about systemic failure and becomes a personal feud. I need to observe the chain of response first. I need to understand the culture behind the behavior. The mayor nodded slowly. So you want time? Yes. And clarity. All right, the mayor said. But when you're ready, we'll stand with you. Malik looked out at the city, watching a tiny figure move through a bike lane far below. A sense of heaviness settled in his ribs. I'll let you know, he murmured. As he left the room, Lena followed him into the hallway. You don't have to carry this alone, you know. I know, Malik replied quietly. But I need to carry it long enough to see the truth of it. She hesitated. Truth about what? Malik turned slightly, the morning light catching the tension in his eyes. Whether this is one officer, he said, or a system that never expected someone like me to hold this kind of power. Lena didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. Officer Grayson tossed his keys onto the station desk with a clatter loud enough to draw a few glances. He didn't care. He was in one of his moods, irritated but energized, the kind of swaggering confidence that came after a morning where he felt he'd put someone in their place. Rough morning, Gray. Officer Dalton called out from the break room doorway. Grayson smirked. Just had to remind a cyclist that the road isn't his personal playground. Guy acted like he was on some mission. Dalton snorted. These people think rules don't apply. Always got somewhere important to be. That's what he said, Grayson replied, heading for the coffee pot. Something about a meeting. On a bike. Can you believe that? The room chuckled. A young officer sitting near the corner, Officer Ruiz, recently out of academy, shifted uneasily. Was he doing anything wrong? Grayson shot him a look. Wrong. He was in front of my cruiser, wasn't he? Dalton laughed again. Don't mind Ruiz. He still thinks every stop needs a reason. Ruiz reddened. Every stop does need a reason. That's what we were taught. And this, Grayson replied, leaning forward with a deliberate grin, is what you learn after the academy. Sometimes your instinct is the reason. Ruiz didn't answer, but the tension in his jaw said enough. The sergeant walked in, clipboard under his arm. Grayson, you're on afternoon perimeter checks. Dalton, you're with him. Grayson groaned. Again. I just did those last week. You also had the most complaints last month, the sergeant said flatly. Consider it balance. Dalton slapped Grayson's shoulder. Hey, look on the bright side. You're still on the schedule. A few officers laughed. Grayson smirked. People complain because they don't like being told no. That's not my problem. Ruiz spoke quietly, almost to himself. Sometimes it becomes all our problem. Grayson ignored him. He poured coffee, dropped into his chair, and pulled up the patrol footage logs. He wasn't looking for anything, just flipping through screens because he liked the hum of the station behind him. Phones ringing, boots echoing against tile, radios crackling with half-caught calls. It was noise he understood. A nearby officer scrolled through social media. "Hey, check this out," he said. "Some cyclist confrontation is blowing up. Looks like a South District stop." "Already?" Grayson scoffed. "People record everything these days." The officer tilted his head. Video doesn't show the officer's face, just the voice. Real clear though. Ruiz's eyes flicked up. "Voice? Yeah," the officer said, replaying it. "Listen." Grayson heard it. His own laughter ringing from a stranger's phone, followed by his voice. People should know their place. Dalton gave a low whistle. "Oh, that's definitely you." Grayson's heart skipped. Not fear but annoyance. "So what?" Boutin stopped. "Anyone asks, I'll say he was obstructing traffic. That bike lane is separate from Ruiz," Dalton cut in. "Nobody's asking." Ruiz closed his mouth, frustrated. Grayson sipped his coffee. "Video won't go anywhere. They never do." The officer scrolling frowned. Comments are saying the cyclist looked familiar. Someone thinks he's city staff. Grayson shrugged. "Staff, courier, volunteer, what's the difference?" Ruiz gave him a long stare. "Power." Grayson rolled his eyes. "Kid, this isn't a sociology class." The sergeant returned, motioning him over. "Grayson." "Quick word." Grayson followed him into a side office. On the desk lay a printed memo. Preliminary inquiry regarding officer conduct outside the South District. Subject: unidentified cyclist stop. The sergeant folded his arms. "I need your statement." Grayson shrugged. "Fine. I saw a cyclist veering toward traffic. Decided to intervene. Safety protocol. You mocked him. Just keeping the interaction light. You told him he should know his place." Grayson shrugged again. "Figure of speech." The sergeant's expression remained blank. Someone from City Hall already asked about this video. A small spark of irritation lit in Grayson's eyes. Why? They don't have bigger issues to deal with. That cyclist may have been a government employee. So, the sergeant said calmly, "your words carry weight. And if this escalates, the department wants to know what we're dealing with." Grayson leaned back, crossing his arms. "With respect, this is being blown out of proportion." The sergeant sighed. "Maybe. Or maybe it's another pattern." "What pattern?" "Grayson," he said quietly, "you've had multiple complaints about unnecessary stops. Every time we've issued warnings. At some point, someone higher up is going to notice." Grayson bristled. "I do my job. If people don't like how I do it, they can follow the law." That cyclist was following the law. Grayson didn't answer. The sergeant tapped the memo. "Submit your written account by end of shift. And Grayson, don't joke about this one. Not this time." Grayson left the office with stiff shoulders, jaw clenched. Dalton nudged him. "Everything good?" "Yeah," Grayson muttered. "Just bureaucracy." Ruiz watched him quietly, something uneasy flickering deep in his expression, like he could see the edges of a system beginning to splinter. Grayson ignored him. But the truth lingered anyway. The video was out. The cyclist wasn't anonymous much longer. And the station's walls felt a little less solid than they did that morning. Malik sat in his office, elbows resting on the desk as he sifted through heat mapping reports. But he wasn't absorbing a single line. His phone buzzed repeatedly, first softly, then insistently, a growing vibration that kept pulling him out of concentration. Lena knocked once before stepping inside. "You're trending." Malik froze. "What?" She closed the door behind her. The video. Someone posted it on a local community page. It's spreading fast. He exhaled slowly, shoulders tensing. Let me see. She held out her tablet. On the screen, a shaky but clear video played. Grayson leaning out of his cruiser, laughter sharp, voice unmistakable. People should know their place. A burn spread beneath Malik's skin. How long has this been up? 40 minutes. Lena hesitated. It's already been mirrored to 3 different platforms. Malik swallowed hard. Comments. She scrolled. A mix. Some calling it harassment. Others defending the officer. And some. She paused. Some asking if the cyclist is you. Malik leaned back, blinking against a sudden sting in his eyes. Not from tears but from exhaustion. That was fast. Lena sat across from him. We can release a statement before this turns into speculation. No, Malik said immediately. Malik. Lena, if I speak now, the story becomes about me. Not the behavior. Not the culture behind it. Me. She lowered her voice. But silence can also be a story. He ran a hand down his face. I know. For a moment neither spoke. Then Malik whispered. I just wanted to bike to work. Quietly. Without ceremony. Without this. Lena's expression softened. You shouldn't have to defend riding a bicycle. Malik gave a dry, tired laugh. You'd be surprised how many times people suggested I use the official car instead. To avoid being stopped? She asked. To look appropriate, he corrected. Lena shook her head. That's absurd. It's real, Malik murmured. Every day, in small ways or big ones. His phone buzzed again. A message from his brother. Is that you in the video? Call me. Then one from his mother. Malik, please be careful responding. Remember what we talked about. Always protect your voice. He tightened his grip on the phone. A knock sounded. Adrian from communications stepped in, tablet in hand. Minister Okoro. Sorry to interrupt. We need to discuss press strategy. Malik straightened. There is no press strategy. Adrian blinked. Sir, with respect, the media is asking whether the cyclist was an employee. If you confirm or deny nothing, they'll fill that silence themselves. What are they saying now? Malik asked quietly. Adrian read from his screen. Cyclist verbally belittled in unnecessary stop. Officer under initial inquiry. Speculation rises that the cyclist may be a senior policy advisor. City Hall refuses comment. That last one, Malik said with a sigh, is correct. Not anymore, Adrian warned. If this continues, someone will identify you. The angle will shift. They'll say you weaponized the incident for political points, or claim the officer didn't know who you were, so he's being unfairly targeted. You know how these narratives spin. Malik rubbed his temples. God! Lena leaned in. Malik, what do you want? He didn't answer immediately. What he wanted was simple. To ride a bicycle without being treated as suspicious. To walk into City Hall without replaying an officer's laughter. To do his job. His actual job. Without needing to become the symbol of yet another racial injustice that should never have happened in the first place. But what he wanted didn't align with what the world demanded. I need time, he finally said. And I need to make sure whatever happens next reflects the truth, not the politics. Adrian nodded reluctantly. We'll buy you as much time as we can. As he left, Lena closed the door again. This isn't your fault. I know that, Malik said. But the consequences still land on my shoulders. She looked at him for a long moment. Do you regret not telling the mayor earlier? Malik sighed. No. I just regret that any of this exists at all. Another buzz. Another message. Another reminder that privacy was evaporating by the hour. Lena checked her phone. Malik. It's on national feeds now. His chest tightened. Already? Yes. And someone just posted a slowed, enhanced frame. Her voice dropped. They're saying the cyclist looks like the city's climate minister. Malik closed his eyes. There it was. The unmistakable shift he had tried to delay. All right, he whispered, opening his eyes again. Then the world is going to know sooner than I planned. Do we respond? Lena asked. Not yet. Malik stood slowly, grounding himself with a deep inhale. Let them wonder for now. Let the system show its own reaction. And when it does. Malik looked out the office window, watching traffic weave between shimmering bike lanes he had worked years to protect. When it does, he said quietly, we'll see who the city really listens to. Malik entered the joint policy chamber with a composed gait, though tension pressed behind his sternum like a weight he couldn't shift. The room was oval, brightened by overhead skylights, lined with long tables arranged for departmental negotiation. Representatives from City Hall, Public Works, Transit, Housing, and today the police department filled their seats. Lena whispered as she handed him a folder. You ready? No, Malik murmured. But here we go anyway. The mayor sat at the head. Thank you everyone. Today's session focuses on traffic coordination and transport equity. We have delegates from the Police Enforcement Division joining us. Malik's eyes flicked toward the group. And there he was. Officer Grayson. He sat with casual confidence, leaning back, arms crossed, expression smug, until his gaze met Malik's. He didn't recognize him at first. Why would he? To him, Malik had been a cyclist, a nameless inconvenience. But recognition came in waves. First confusion, then disbelief, then a tightening around the eyes, like something precious, fragile, and ugly inside him cracked. Malik took his seat deliberately, spine tall, expression unreadable. The mayor continued. Minister Okoro will open with an update on mobility policy, followed by discussion with law enforcement regarding lane safety and enforcement protocols. Grayson's jaw twitched. Malik began, voice calm. Thank you. Today I want to focus on measures to increase cyclist safety, reduce unnecessary stops, and build trust between commuters and officers. He let the word unnecessary hang in the air. Grayson shifted. Dalton, sitting beside him, glanced over uncomfortably. Malik clicked to the first slide. As you see, protected lanes reduce collisions by nearly 30%. But they also require proportional enforcement. That means officers trained to discern actual risk rather than. Grayson abruptly sat forward. Excuse me. Are you implying officers don't know how to do their jobs? The room quieted instantly. Malik didn't look at him yet. I'm implying outcomes matter. If people feel targeted rather than protected, enforcement is failing. Grayson scoffed. People feel targeted because they don't understand protocol. Malik turned his gaze on him, steady, sharp. Some people understand protocol better than you think. Grayson stiffened. Meaning what? Meaning I was there. I lived the consequences of your arrogance. But Malik kept his tone controlled. Meaning cyclists are not obstacles, he said. They are citizens, workers, parents, and yes, sometimes senior officials. The temperature in the room shifted. Dalton whispered harshly, Gray, don't say anything. But Grayson leaned forward, voice low and incredulous. Ooh, you were that guy this morning. The mayor's head snapped toward Malik. Malik! Whispers filled the room. Lena folded her arms tightly, watching Grayson like prey studying a predator who just realized the trap he walked into. Malik spoke clearly. Yes, I was the cyclist. Grayson exhaled sharply, almost a laugh. You're kidding. You're the climate minister. On a bike. Malik didn't blink. I choose to ride because it reflects the policies I advocate. So you're telling me, Grayson said louder, that I stopped a government minister doing his little morning bike routine? The mayor interjected, tone cold. Officer Grayson, choose your next words carefully. Grayson opened his mouth, then closed it, jaw locked. Malik rose from his seat. This discussion is not about my position. It's about conduct that strips everyday cyclists of dignity. What happened to me happens to people with far less protection than I have. A murmur of agreement passed through the transit reps. Malik continued. When a stop begins with mockery instead of a stated concern, that's not safety enforcement. That's intimidation. Grayson's face reddened. I was doing my job. No, Malik replied. You were abusing your authority. The mayor added. We've seen the footage. Your language was unacceptable. Grayson sputtered. It was a mistake. A misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Malik's voice stayed calm, but steel threaded through it. You told me to know my place. The phrase dropped into the room like a stone. Several officials looked away, discomfort rippling outward. Malik said quietly. So tell me, Officer Grayson, what place did you think I belonged in? Grayson had no answer. His mouth opened, then shut again. Dalton muttered under his breath. This is bad. The police liaison cleared her throat stiffly. We were not aware the cyclist was Minister Okoro. That's precisely the problem, Malik said. You shouldn't need to know someone's title to treat them with respect. Silence. Real heavy silence. The mayor folded his hands. We will be launching a formal review. Effective immediately. Grayson flinched. Mayor, come on. This is political. This, Malik said, is accountability. Grayson stared at him, eyes narrow, but beneath the hostility was something else. Fear of a structure shifting under his feet, a realization that power used carelessly could slip away just as easily. The mayor concluded. We'll continue this meeting without enforcement presence. Officers Grayson and Dalton, please step outside. Dalton obeyed quickly. Grayson remained seated a fraction too long, eyes locked on Malik with seething disbelief, like he couldn't comprehend how the man he mocked could now determine the next chapter of his career. Finally he stood. The scrape of his chair echoed through the room. As the door shut behind him, Malik sat down slowly, steadying his breath. Lena whispered, You handled that perfectly. Malik didn't smile. His gaze stayed fixed on the closed door. This isn't over, he murmured. Not for him, and not for this city. Malik walked out of the round-table chamber with Lena beside him, the buzz of murmured conversations trailing behind. But as soon as they entered the hallway, his phone vibrated again, 3 times in rapid succession. Lena glanced down. Your notifications are exploding. I can tell, Malik muttered. He opened one message. Minister Okoro embroiled in confrontation with police officer during official meeting. Sources claim political motivation. Another headline appeared. Police union responds. Officer Grayson followed protocol. Lena grimaced. They're spinning it already. Malik exhaled. I knew they would. A city communications aide rushed toward them. Sir, the police union has released a statement. They're framing your testimony as retaliation for being stopped. Malik blinked in disbelief. Retaliation. I said nothing until the meeting. They're saying you weaponized your office, the aide continued nervously. They're framing you as emotional, unstable, too personally affected to be objective. Malik closed his eyes. The old, familiar ache pressed against his ribs. The knowledge that when black professionals expressed truth, their emotions became ammunition against them. He steadied himself. Schedule a response. Later. Not now. The aide nodded and hurried off. Lena's jaw tightened. They're afraid. Of accountability, Malik replied. Fear makes institutions loud. They continued down the corridor until they reached Malik's office. Inside, the blinds cast patterns across his desk, the room unnaturally quiet after the tension of the meeting. Malik sank into his chair. We need to prepare for escalation. Already ahead of you, Lena said, pulling out her tablet. I've compiled a list of every complaint filed against Grayson in the last 2 years. Malik's head lifted. How many? 7 documented. Probably more unreported. He let out a slow breath. And how many resulted in disciplinary action? She hesitated. None. Malik rubbed his forehead. Patterns. Always patterns. Lena sat opposite him. Are you all right? He didn't answer immediately. Finally he whispered, I hate that I wasn't surprised. A moment of silence. Then Malik's phone buzzed again. This time a call. He answered softly. Mom. Her voice came through steady and warm. Malik, I saw the news. Are you safe? Yes, Mama. I'm fine. You're walking into a storm, she said gently. Don't let them turn you into the villain in your own truth. Malik closed his eyes, her voice anchoring him. I'll be careful. You have to be more than careful, she murmured. You have to be wise. These systems, when pushed, they push back harder. I know. Just remember who you are, she said. And whose dreams you're carrying. He swallowed the tightness in his throat. I will. After they hung up, the office felt heavier. Lena approached slowly. The mayor wants to meet with you in an hour. What now? She hesitated. He wants to ask if you want this pursued formally. Malik stared at her. What does that mean? It means the weight of the next steps could fall on you, Lena said softly. The hearing, media scrutiny, institutional backlash. They want your consent before they move forward. Malik leaned back, staring out the window where cyclists moved along the lanes he'd fought to expand. He watched a father biking with a small child strapped in a rear seat. Another rider carried groceries. Someone else, an elderly woman, pedaled slowly, carefully, lives moving freely, because someone pushed for it. He whispered half to himself, what message do we send if we stop now? That public officials shouldn't make waves, Lena replied. No, Malik said quietly. That black officials shouldn't. Lena didn't deny it. He exhaled deeply. Schedule the meeting. Just then, a soft knock sounded on his open door. It was the rookie, Officer Ruiz. He stood rigidly, hat in hand. Minister Okoro. May I speak with you? Malik and Lena exchanged a glance. Of course, Malik said. Ruiz stepped inside. I just wanted to say, what happened this morning shouldn't have happened. And what I saw in that room, it wasn't right. Malik studied him. Why are you telling me this? Because, Ruiz said, voice trembling slightly, the culture in that precinct, it isn't just Grayson. Someone needs to hear that before they decide nothing's wrong. Lena asked gently, are you willing to say that publicly? Ruiz hesitated. I don't know. The union, the pressure. Malik softened his voice. Courage isn't comfortable. And the system will not make space for your integrity. You have to claim it yourself. Ruiz looked down. I'll try. That's all anyone can do, Malik said. Ruiz nodded once, then left quietly. When the door closed, Lena whispered, you realize that was huge, right? Malik nodded slowly. Then came another buzz from his phone. An official government alert. Notice. Officer Grayson under preliminary review. Hearing scheduled. Minister Okoro requested for formal testimony. Lena looked at him. It begins. Malik inhaled, steady and resolute. Then I'll be there. The municipal review chamber was colder than Malik expected. Sterile lights, polished wooden desks, microphones angled like instruments of dissection. Rows of observers filled the back wall. Reporters, community members, officers from multiple precincts. The hearing was public. Course it was. The city needed transparency, or at least the appearance of it. Malik sat near the front, Lena beside him. She whispered, you ready? No, he answered honestly. But I'm prepared. The board members filed in. The police commissioner took a central seat, expression tightly neutral. Let's begin, she announced. Officer Daniel Grayson, please come forward. Grayson walked in with stiff shoulders, trying to project confidence, but the glare of cameras made his posture falter. He avoided looking at Malik. He sat down at the opposite table, union representative at his side. The commissioner opened a file. Officer, you are here regarding your conduct during a traffic stop involving a cyclist on the morning of June 4th, and subsequent behavior in a policy meeting later that morning. Do you understand the charges? Yes, Grayson said flatly. Would you like to make an opening statement? Grayson nodded. I followed protocol. The cyclist was in a dangerous position. I intervened for safety reasons. The video circulating online doesn't show the full context. Malik felt his jaw tighten. The commissioner continued. We will review context. Please describe your reasoning for initiating the stop. Grayson shrugged. He was moving irregularly. Looked like he was distracted. Malik leaned slightly toward his mic. I was waiting at a red light in a protected lane. Whispers filled the room. The commissioner raised a hand. Minister Okoro will have time to speak. Grayson swallowed. I didn't know he was a minister. Why should that matter? Commissioner asked. Protocol is different for elected officials, Malik said quietly. So if I weren't a minister, the behavior would be acceptable? Grayson looked trapped. I didn't say that. Lena whispered. He's unraveling. The board chair tapped her pen. Officer, the complaint isn't about identity. It is about conduct. Your words during the stop were, let me quote, people should know their place. What did you mean by that? Grayson's jaw twitched. I spoke out of frustration. I didn't mean anything personal. Language reflects bias, one board member said. Explain your choice. It wasn't bias, Grayson insisted. It was just something I said. The union rep leaned forward. The officer is being taken out of context. No, the commissioner cut in. We'll determine context. Not you. A subtle shift rippled through the room. Power was no longer on Grayson's side. Next, the commissioner said, we will hear from Officer Ruiz. Ruiz entered nervously, hat held tightly in both hands. He sat, shoulders tense. Officer Ruiz, the chair asked, you were present in the precinct when Officer Grayson discussed the morning stop? Yes, ma'am. Please recount what you heard. Ruiz swallowed. His voice shook. Officer Grayson said the cyclist needed to be put in place. And he said people like him always cause problems. Malik closed his eyes briefly. Grayson snapped. He's misquoting. The kid is nervous. The chair banged her gavel. Officer Grayson, do not interrupt. Ruiz continued, voice steadier now. He also showed no concern about the stop. He laughed. Others laughed with him. The union rep whispered urgently, don't answer that, don't react. But Grayson leaned forward, eyes blazing. This is what we're doing now. Letting rookies twist my words because a minister got offended. Malik felt the shift like a physical ripple. The commissioner's tone sharpened. Officer Grayson, control yourself. I am in control, he snapped. No, Malik said calmly into his mic. You're not. Grayson whipped toward him. You think you can judge me? You ambushed me in that meeting, made me look like some kind of monster. Malik held his gaze. You made yourself look like that. The room fell into a thick, humming silence. The chair said, Minister Okoro, please proceed with your formal statement. Malik stood, breathing evenly, grounding himself the way he'd done on the bike that morning. He looked at each board member, each spectator, each officer. My name is Malik Okoro, he began. And before I am a minister, I am a citizen, cyclist, a person who deserves dignity on the road. He continued, voice controlled but heavy with truth. What Officer Grayson did to me is something countless black cyclists face, without title, without protection, without witnesses. This is not about me. It is about a system in which certain citizens are seen as suspicious before they are seen as human. A murmur spread through the audience. In that moment, Malik said softly, I was not a minister. I was a threat in his eyes. Problem. An inconvenience. Someone out of place. He paused, letting the weight of the words settle. But I was exactly where I belonged. In a bike lane. On my way to serve this city. He gestured gently toward Ruiz. And officers like him, the ones who see the truth, should not be silenced by a culture that rewards arrogance over accountability. The board chair nodded slowly. Malik concluded, if this department wants trust, it must earn it. And today is an opportunity, not to punish one man, but to recognize the patterns that allow officers like him to operate without consequence. He sat down. Silence reigned. Then the commissioner spoke carefully, deliberately. Officer Grayson, effective immediately. You are suspended pending full investigation. Grayson's face drained of color. This is political. No, the commissioner said, cutting him off. This is corrective. Malik felt no triumph. Only the slow release of a breath he'd been holding for days. Lena whispered, you changed the room. Malik looked toward the exit where Grayson sat frozen. His world suddenly much smaller. No, Malik murmured. The truth did. The morning after the hearing felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. Malik sat at his kitchen table. Hands wrapped around a mug he hadn't sipped in 10 minutes. Outside, dawn painted the sky with muted streaks of gray, but inside his chest everything felt heavy and raw. His phone buzzed again. Lena, call me when you're up. A lot is happening. He typed back, I'm up. What now? Before she could respond, the television, still on from the night before, shifted to breaking news. Officer Daniel Grayson has been placed on suspension pending a full misconduct investigation, the anchor reported. Several past complaints have resurfaced, raising questions about supervisory oversight. The screen cut to archived complaints, then to Grayson leaving the hearing room, face pale, avoiding cameras. Then, inevitably, to Malik. The clip of his statement replayed. His voice steady. His gaze unshaken. His words dissected by analysts who spoke with too much certainty about a life they didn't understand. The anchor continued. Some critics argue the minister used his influence unfairly, while supporters say his testimony exposes deeper systemic issues. Malik lowered the volume. A knock sounded at the door. He opened it to find Lena, coat still buttoned, hair pulled into a tense knot. You're supposed to be resting, she said. I am, he replied, motioning her inside. That's not resting. That's watching the fallout unfold. I didn't intend to watch, Malik said softly. It found me. She set her bag down. The mayor wants to talk to you later. The commissioner too. Malik, there's more. Tensed. What now? She exhaled. The union is doubling down. They're attacking your credibility, claiming you overreacted, calling you overly emotional, and saying your testimony was politically motivated. Malik let out a slow, bitter breath. Of course they are. Lena hesitated. How are you holding up? Malik sat on the arm of the sofa, shoulders drooping slightly. I don't know. I knew it would get loud. I didn't expect it to feel. He searched for the word. Exposing. Lena sank onto the couch. You carried yourself with grace. No one can take that away. It doesn't stop the noise, he murmured. She looked around his apartment, noticing the bicycle near the wall, its frame clean and polished, a quiet symbol of the routine that had become a battleground. Have you ridden since everything? She asked. He shook his head. I haven't even touched it. You love cycling. I used to, he said softly. A long moment passed. Then Malik added, every time I think about getting back on that bike, I feel the weight of his laugh, the eyes of everyone watching, the possibility of it happening again. Lena's expression softened. That's trauma, Malik, not weakness. He nodded slightly. His phone rang again. He ignored it. Lena glanced at the screen. Hundreds of unread messages. Media requests. Statements of support. Opinions. Noise. She placed a gentle hand on his forearm. Take a breath. None of this defines you. I know, he said. But it does remind me. Of what? He lifted his gaze, tired but steady. Of how thin the line is. Between being respected and being reduced. Between being a minister and being a cyclist who needed to be put in place. It took him seconds to decide who I was. And the world watched me prove that decision wrong. Lena swallowed. You shouldn't have to prove anything. No, he said quietly. But people like me always do. A soft chime sounded from his laptop. A calendar notification. Lena raised her eyebrows. What's that? A community cycling event, Malik said. Scheduled weeks ago. I was supposed to give opening remarks this afternoon. Lena hesitated. You don't have to go. I know. But if you do go, it'll be public. He nodded. Visible. Vulnerable. Symbolic. She touched his shoulder gently. What do you want to do, Malik? Not what the city expects. Not what the backlash pushes. You. He looked at the bicycle again. Quiet. Waiting. He stood slowly, walking toward it. His fingers brushed the handlebar. The same grip he clutched when Grayson leaned in with that mocking smirk. A shiver ran through him, but he didn't pull away. I won't let him take this from me, Malik said quietly. Lena smiled softly. Then go reclaim it. He took a breath, deeper than before. Let's go to the event. You sure? No, he admitted with a faint, weary smile. But it's time. He wheeled the bicycle toward the door, hands steadier than they were minutes ago. Lena grabbed her coat. Then I'm coming with you. As they stepped outside, Malik felt the air shift across his face. Cool, grounding, real. The world was watching, yes, but he was still moving. And that mattered. The conference room at City Hall hummed with low conversation as officials gathered for the press briefing. Malik stood behind the curtain with Lena, straightening his jacket while trying to ignore the flutter of nerves tightening his chest. Lena whispered, You don't have to speak today if you don't want to. Malik shook his head. If I stay silent now, they fill the silence for me. Just don't let them turn you into a symbol they can use, she cautioned gently. I won't, he said. I'm here because cycling shouldn't cost anyone their dignity. And because systems only change when pressure meets truth. Before Lena could respond, the mayor stepped toward them. Malik, the mayor said quietly, the commissioner is about to announce the findings. I want you to know we stand with you. Malik inhaled. What's the outcome? He'll face disciplinary action, the mayor replied. 30-day unpaid suspension, mandatory equity and bias retraining, and removal from community enforcement duties. His supervisory staff will be reviewed as well. Malik nodded slowly. Appropriate. No more, no less, the mayor added. It sets precedent without inflaming tensions. Malik appreciated the balance. This wasn't vengeance. It was a step, a small but crucial one, toward accountability. The commissioner took the podium outside. After thorough review, she said, voice clear and firm, Officer Daniel Grayson's conduct violated both departmental standards and the principles of equitable enforcement. Effective immediately. Disciplinary measures will be applied. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward like magnets to a spark. Inside, Malik took a deep breath. Lena murmured, You okay? No, he admitted softly. But I'm steady. He stepped out onto the stage. The room brightened with camera lights. Conversations stilled. His turn. Malik approached the microphone. Good afternoon, he began, voice warm yet controlled. Today's outcome is not about victory. It is about responsibility. He paused, letting the words settle. What happened to me on my bicycle happens to many people in our city. People without titles, cameras, or public hearings. My experience happened to be recorded. Most aren't. Murmurs rippled across the press. I stand here not as a minister demanding favor, but as a resident demanding fairness. Our communities deserve a system where dignity is the default, not a privilege offered only after identity is revealed. A reporter called out, Minister Okoro, do you feel the disciplinary action is enough? Malik considered his answer carefully. Consequences alone don't heal trust, he said. But acknowledging harm is the first step. Retraining is the next. Structural changes will follow. And accountability, ongoing accountability, must continue. Another reporter asked, "Do you plan to meet with Officer Grayson?" "No," Malik replied calmly. "This is not a personal conflict. It is a systemic one. The solution won't be found in a private conversation, but in public commitment." The mayor nodded behind him. A third reporter raised her hand. "Minister, what's your message to residents who feel unsafe?" Malik's expression softened. "That your fear is not unfounded. And that this city is responsible for addressing it. Not you." Then after a breath, "And you are not alone." A quiet, emotional silence settled. As the briefing concluded, Malik stepped away from the podium. Reporters continued shouting questions, but he let the security staff guide him out. Backstage, Lena touched his arm. "You spoke with clarity and grace." Malik exhaled. "It felt heavy." "It is heavy," she said, "but necessary." They walked toward the exit, passing two staffers who whispered, "That's leadership." He handled it better than anyone else could have. Malik didn't respond. Praise felt strange, too bright against the shadow of what happened. Then his phone buzzed with a new message. From the commissioner herself. "Thank you for your testimony. We will be implementing new transport equity protocols citywide. Your insight shaped them." Malik showed Lena. "This," she said softly, "is the quiet kind of change that lasts." He nodded. As they stepped outside into the sunlight, Malik spotted a group of cyclists rolling by. Kids, elders, commuters, moving freely in the lanes he helped build. One kid waved at him, excited. "Hey, you're the bike minister." Malik laughed, the sound cracking open some of the weight inside him. "Just someone who believes the streets belong to all of us." He watched them pedal away, wheels glinting in the sun. Grayson was facing consequences. The department was under new scrutiny. New policy was forming. And the city, slowly, was shifting. Poetic justice wasn't loud. It was steady, like a wheel turning forward. The next morning unfolded with a soft quietness that felt almost deliberate, as if the city itself had paused to breathe. Malik stepped out of his apartment building with his bicycle at his side, fingers resting lightly on the handlebar. For days he'd avoided riding, part fear, part exhaustion, but now, as dawn light slipped across the pavement, he felt something shift inside him. Lena stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed playfully. "Didn't think you'd actually ride today." "I didn't either," Malik admitted with a faint smile. "But the streets aren't going to reclaim themselves." She nodded. "Ready." "Not fully," he said. "But enough." He swung his leg over the bike. The familiar weight of the frame steadied him. His muscles remembered what his mind had been afraid to recall. Just then, a voice called out from across the street. "Minister Okoro." A group of cyclists, maybe 20, gathered near the curb. Commuters, students, parents with kids in trailers. Their bikes varied in age and style, mismatched and humble, but each rider wore the same expression: solidarity. A woman at the front smiled warmly. "We heard you might ride today. Thought we'd join." Malik blinked, moved despite himself. "You don't have to do that." "We know," she said. "That's why we're here." Lena whispered. "Looks like you started something." "No," Malik whispered back. "They started something. I'm just joining them." The riders formed a loose semicircle, leaving space for Malik to lead if he chose. For a moment, he hesitated. Visibility still made him uneasy, but then he pushed off gently, letting the wheels roll forward. The others followed. The group moved through the city streets like a quiet ribbon, weaving through early morning light and cool air. Cars slowed, not with hostility but with caution, curiosity, maybe even respect. Lena biked beside him. "Feels different today." It does, Malik replied. Like the road isn't asking me to justify being here. Because you never had to. He nodded, letting the moment sink in. As they approached the intersection where Grayson had stopped him, Malik's breath caught subtly. The corner looked ordinary. Same cracked pavement, same leaning street sign, same faded bicycle stencil on the asphalt. But his memory filled the space. The patrol car angled too close, the laughter, the humiliation. He slowed. The riders behind him did too, creating a gentle hush. Lena placed a hand briefly on his shoulder. You can keep going. Or stop. Whatever feels right. Malik looked at the patch of road where he'd felt most diminished, and realized the fear wasn't gone, but it wasn't steering him anymore. He pushed the pedals again, steady and deliberate. The group moved forward with him. For the first time since the incident, Malik felt present on the road, not performing, not defending, simply existing. A cyclist among cyclists. A man reclaiming a piece of himself. As they neared City Hall, a cluster of city workers stood outside, sipping coffee. When they recognized Malik, some raised hands in greeting. One of the interns called out, "Morning, Minister. Nice ride." Malik chuckled softly. "Morning." The riders peeled off gradually, some heading to work, others waving goodbye, all leaving the atmosphere feeling lighter than when the day began. When only Malik and Lena remained, she stopped her bike and turned to him. "You know, you didn't just reclaim the road today." He raised an eyebrow. "What else did I reclaim?" "Your story," she said simply. Malik looked toward the horizon. The dawn had lifted fully now, bathing the city in warm gold. Buses hummed along dedicated lanes. A street sweeper moved slowly down the curb. A courier pedaled hard, balancing a crate on his bike rack. The city was imperfect, flawed, struggling, but alive. And worth fighting for. "That's the thing about climate work," Malik said quietly. "It's not just carbon charts and infrastructure. It's about shaping the world so people move through it safely. Freely. With dignity." Lena nodded. "And you're doing that." He turned his bike toward the City Hall entrance. "I'm trying." A small child walking with her mother waved shyly. "Why do you ride a bike, mister?" Malik smiled, leaning slightly toward her. "Because it helps me stay close to the world I'm trying to change." The girl beamed. "That's cool." As Malik rolled his bike toward the racks, he felt a soft warmth settle in his chest. Not triumph, not closure, but clarity. Healing wasn't a finish line. Accountability wasn't a single hearing. And justice wasn't a loud victory. It was the quiet insistence on moving forward. He locked the bike, took one more breath of cool morning air, and walked into City Hall with a steady stride. The work continued. And so did he.